It is a dark night in the city of London. The gas lamps have been lit, and their light sort of fuses through a light fog that has risen up from the river. You can see the lights burning behind the windows of the dignified townhouses in Bloomsbury, not far from the British Museum. This particularly smart house is the property of Mr. Randolph Legaton, who has made money as a lawyer over the years, but his real passion lies in matters of the occult. And tonight he is having a few friends and new acquaintances round for a little get-together. Already in the house is his old friend, and they studied together Obadiah Rutherston. Now, Obadiah is not a lawyer, he is a chemist by trade, but they bonded over the years over matters of the occult, and Obadiah's down in London for a week or so. He's staying with Mr. Legaton. His normal abode is up in Edinburgh, but he's down here for a short while. So the two of you have had dinner and sort of dressed smartly as you wait for the rest of your guests to arrive. And it's not long before a carriage pulls up, bringing with it Mr. Charles Abernathy, respected lawyer, and three people that you, Mr. Legaton, possibly only know vaguely or by reputation. So, as we begin, the carriage pulls up outside the house, and the driver opens the door, and a footman comes to open the front door and ushers Mr. Legaton's guests inside out of the cold.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Most of the staff have the night off this evening to give us our peace. If you need anything, please help yourselves, and we'll be happy to assist in any way. Come in.
Yes, thank you.
Mr. Legaton, good chap. Good to see you again. It's been too long.
I agree. I'm very anxious to tell you about my travels recently. I discovered some very interesting things in the colonies. Oh, pardon me, the Americas. I guess we shouldn't call them that anymore.
Yes. Well, I don't believe you've met. May I introduce? You know Sir John, of course, John Wallace.
Of course.
This is his niece, Miss Carter. She's actually
Miss Carter?
visiting from the Americas.
Oh, sorry, I meant nothing negative by that. Of course, it's a lovely place.
That is fine. A pleasure to meet you, and thank you very much for inviting us.
Of course.
And Lady Irene, I believe you may already have met. She's quite a respected medium. Well, quite interesting to see what she makes of. Who have you got tonight again?
We have Madame LaCroix joining us.
Yes.
She seems new.
Well, somewhat. She's has experience in these things, of course. I believe we met at a party some years ago.
Of course.
Yes. No, it's good to see you again.
Pleasure seeing you as well.
And who is this fine gentleman?
This is Mr. Maxwell Porter. He's I don't actually know how he knows Sir John. I've been away for a few weeks and things have changed a lot. But he's Oh, he's a... What is it again? An antiquarian, yes.
Yes.
Oh, quite interesting, Mr. Porter. A pleasure to meet you.
Oh, the pleasure is mine. Thank you so much for inviting us to this lovely home.
I hope we're in for an interesting evening.
Yes, I suppose we shall see, won't we?
Well, please, everyone, if you would join us in the study, relax. Maybe a drink, ladies. Is there anything I can offer you?
Just some tea, if you would.
Of course.
I wouldn't mind a bit of sherry myself.
Absolutely. Mr. Porter?
Perhaps a port if you do have some.
I think that can be arranged. We also have some fine cigars and a bit of pipe tobacco.
Oh, how excellent.
As you show them through the sitting room, Obadiah is already sat with a glass of port in hand by the fire. He seems to have borrowed one of Randolph's books off a nearby shelf and is busy perusing it. I don't know what kind of books Randolph keeps on display. Whether this is occultist or whether this is innocent stuff.
Probably it may be one of the many medical books that I keep as well on various medicines, because as I will introduce, and everyone, I would like you to meet Obadiah Rutherston. He is a chemist. We were discussing the properties of, what was it called again? Peyote that I had discovered while we were traveling around in the Americas as part of one of their, what do they call it? Vision Quest journeys.
Yes, you should get. I'd love to get my hands on some of that. Actually, sounds fascinating. Yes, I'm very, very interested in that sort of thing. The way to even open the mind.
Yes, opens your minds and you can see many things that the normal naked eye just won't observe. Very interesting, very intriguing.
Yes.
How fascinating. Did you partake on this?
Oh, no, I'm merely an observer, of course.
Oh, of course.
What a missed opportunity for experimentation.
Well, I observed as closely as possible and interacted very greatly with many of the natives who partook. And, it is quite amazing. They apparently do not wear clothing, or at least very minimal amounts during this, both the men and the women, and it's quite amazing the way that they go into these tents that are built very... I'm sorry, I'm being rather boorish. Please.
It's possibly not a topic for the... We do have ladies present. Forgive my friend, he's it's a little carried away. Not that I myself do, ever.
We all have our chosen topics, of which we are very passionate about.
Yes, precisely.
Yes, do you have...
What yours? I'm sorry.
No, I was going to ask the same question. I wondered, I know a lot of young ladies these days keep a diary, dabble in naturalism, that sort of thing.
Well, I occasionally work with the museum in the medieval histories, though I do, on occasion, drift over to the Egyptian and look into the Egyptianology.
Fascinating. Have you yet traveled to Egypt?
No, I have not.
It's a lovely land. Many wonderful things. Maybe one day, on one of the journeys, you can accompany us, and we will travel there.
That would be quite fun, but I should request permission first.
Oh, of course. I did not mean anything untoward by that.
I believe Maxwell has been to Egypt, haven't you?
Oh, yes, on several occasions. I wonder if perhaps we have visited similar locations, and perhaps met similar people.
Well, it's something we could discuss after our encounter this evening, maybe over another fine glass of.
Oh,
Where
yes,
is that Miss LeGroy? She should have been here by now.
And at this point, you hear the tingling, tingling of the front door bell.
If you will excuse me. And I will make my way to the front door.
And standing on the step as a carriage pulls away is a woman. She's dressed in sort of dark clothing. She's got quite an elaborate veil pulled over her face. It's a sort of decidedly extravagant sort of appearance as she inclines her head.
Madam LeGroy, I presume?
Oui, good night.
Yes. Please, come in. We've gathered in the study. Would you like maybe a bit of sherry or tea?
No, I do not imbibe with spirits before attempting to make contact with the other side.
I see.
I find it clouds one's mental faculties and puts a barrier between you and that which is out there. I'd like to keep a pure body.
Oh, of course. I can see where any kind of intoxicant or drug of any kind would not be useful in your situation. I cannot understand how people would do such a
entirely.
thing.
I'm glad you're a man after my own mind.
Oh, of course, madam. Very anxious to see what you can do for us this evening.
Yes,
And to join you on your journeys.
Have you set aside a particular room for the seance?
Absolutely, we have had the main dining room cleared. And as per your suggestions, we have set it up hopefully properly to match your desires.
If you wouldn't mind, would you give me just a moment just to collect myself and get a proper feel for the space? I need to understand the background energy of a place before I attempt to open myself up.
Of course, would you like the dining room or would you like some private space in my office?
No, the dining room will be fine. I will
What?
call for you once I am ready.
Yes, ma'am. And I will escort her to the dining room.
You see as she begins sort of examining the setup. Checking the table.
Well, I will leave you to it. If you need anything, please let us know. We're very excited to have you here, and I look forward to seeing this evening and you communing with the spirits. I really hope that we have a wonderful evening with this, and that you are able to reach out and actually commune with the other side this evening. We're very excited to see this.
Yes. I will
Sorry,
call for you once I am ready.
Yes, ma'am. And he will take the doors and pull them closed behind him.
So what do you think, what spirits might we be communing with tonight, do you think?
Usually it's to contact a relative or someone that has had distinctive contact in the house.
The Laster. Abernathy chimes in. The Laster seance I went to, the medium made contact with, in fact, the deceased spaniel of the host. It's quite a touching moment, actually. He got the chance to say goodbye to dear Baxter and to properly connect. It almost brought a tear to my eye. Indeed.
They can be quite intense.
Mm-hmm.
Lady Irene is looking over at Maxwell, seeing the look on his face. You must forgive, dear Mr. Porter. He's our regional skeptic.
Oh, no, just a bit of good humor, that's all. Not at your expense, of course, but I find this type of thing quite entertaining. The things a mind will conjure up in the right situations with the right lighting.
And Rutherston leans forward at that. Not a believer then, eh? Come. How about this? If this seance doesn't convince you, if the madame's not up to scratch, but you stick around after. I've got a little something I was going to show Legaton, but I think mayhaps you'd be interested as well. Something that would truly convince you.
I see
Open
no
one's
reason
mind
why.
properly.
Yes, I see no reason not to stay. Perhaps you will have something truly transformative, although you must, I assure you, go to great lengths to convince.
This could convince even the most ardent of skeptics. Have to wait and see.
That's good to say, because Mr. Porter is one.
Yes, well, it remains to be seen, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I am looking forward to this. I believe this is my first seance.
I think it is, Maddie.
I am looking forward to what might happen tonight.
I believe you'll be in for a treat.
Ladies, gentlemen, I am ready. Please enter.
This way, please. Is there any seating preference you prefer for us, Mr. Cole?
Please all take a seat that calls to you, the one you feel most comfortable in. And if you would please, Mr. Legaton, dim the lights.
Go around and dim. I assume there are some candles lit in the area too, so
Yes,
dim
there's
any gas lights.
Just a couple of candles lit, burning to provide a very low level of lighting for the room. And just for reference, so yeah, the medium is seated at the far side of this. I think it's probably a round table.
Oval, maybe, kind of
Yeah,
roundish?
roundish-ish. Yeah.
Roundish.
I will sit one seat away from her, so not directly next to her, but one away.
Okay. And unless anyone else stops him, Charles will take the seat between Maddie and the medium. Sits himself down, gives a little kind of smile to Maddie and goes, "Don't be scared, dear. If anything untoward should occur, just let me know. We can leave. Your uncle would want me to keep you safe."
Thank you, Mr. Abernathy.
Wherever Miss Watts decides to sit, I will follow over and help her, seat down properly. Put her chair in.
I will
And take
probably
the
sit
seat.
to the opposite side of the round table, probably right next to Miss LaCroix.
Okay.
And then I'll take, I guess, the seat to the left of that. So,
Believe
I
that
think
leaves
that's right.
Maxwell with the best view in the house. The
Yes.
exact opposite side.
Leaves Maxwell and Obadiah on the far side. So, do you take your seats? The lighting dimmed as the Madame, she leans forward. Now, if you would please join hands. All of you. Take the hand of the person next to you. Now, place your joined hands upon the table. I call upon the spirits in this space. Come to me. Speak through me. I call upon you. Let me be the way from your world to ours. There are spirits here among us. Can you feel them?
Oh, definitely. Very exciting.
There's a sort of cold runs down the back of your neck as this cold breeze ripples through the room. Curtains fluttering. There is someone here amongst us. They want to speak to someone here. There is an Elizabeth? Do any of you know an Elizabeth? Maybe a Beth? Or
Yes.
she seems sad. She's yes. Yes, Maxwell, I think she wishes to speak to you. Do you have anything you'd wish to say to her?
I wouldn't know where to begin. If she truly does wish to speak to me, I suppose I would have to ask, did you see them? Did you see the fiend? Please.
Bean. She says yes. She saw them, but she was so afraid. But she's not afraid anymore. She's just sad that she has parted from you. She wishes you to be happy. She's faint now. I can't hear much of her, but she says that she loves you still, but that she wishes you to be happy, and that she has no fear anymore of the fiend. She's gone now. And Madame LaCroix leans forward, and you feel as the table trembles a little beneath your hands. The candles sputter for a moment. There is another here. A young man. He died violently. He seems in a panic. I'm not sure who he's trying to reach. I Irene, do you know this man? He's wearing some sort of uniform. Maybe a soldier? Or a servant? Or...
Servant, maybe?
Yes, that is it. He's a servant. Indeed. Someone you knew, perhaps? He tried to help, or... But...
Trying to remember his name now. That's just me outside of... What's it?
Yeah.
Fred?
Yes, that is him. Fred. His name is Fred. No. Not your servant, though.
No.
Someone else's. Strange circumstance.
John Wallace's? Maybe?
Yes. John Wallace. He worked for him, but it didn't end well. He's trapped. Trapped between the worlds. He cannot move on. The circumstances of his death do not allow it. They will not allow it.
Does he say what happened?
It's hazy, like there's something stopping me from fully reaching him. I can just see him there, calling for help. You knew him. He knew you. There was blood. An accident, maybe. Yes, an accident, but... Oh, he's gone. Oh, this place is crowded with spirits. There's so many people reaching out for you. So many. I do not believe I can handle them all. It's too much. This is far too much. Too many of them. Oh, see them all crowding. I must... I must... Please. Some air. Turn up the lights. That's... I can reach them. No more this evening. I'm sorry, Mr. Legaton. I'm sorry, I must...
It's quite all right. I'll get up and start turning the lights back on. It's quite all right. Are you sure you won't take a cup of tea?
Oh, a cup of tea now. Yes, maybe.
Yes.
Oh, I am afraid I must cut our session somewhat short. Oh.
Perhaps some water now?
Oh,
while the tea is being made.
Yes. Mercy. Oh, thank you. You are so kind.
And after the lights are on, I will go fetch water and start tea.
I am sorry, I have not seen a place quite so thick with the energies of the other side in quite some time. You are all so very much in tune with the greater nature of things. Oh, thank you, sir.
Mr.
you.
Porter, are you all right?
I'm perfectly fine, dear. Nothing to be discussed in present company.
Well,
Was intense.
Yes, it was something, wasn't it?
Miss LaCroix, I understand you may not feel up to doing more this evening. I hope you will remain a guest of our home, and maybe we can take this up another
Oh,
evening. If you do not, maybe
I
after a
am
rest, you'll be more interested this
happy
evening.
to return, but I must away to my own quarters. I'm afraid this place there's just too I forgot the English. There's just too much here.
Too much spiritual pressure.
Yes.
I understand.
Well, Albenathi chimes in. I probably should be making some headway myself. I can escort Madame LaCroix home if that is agreeable. And I'm afraid I have somewhat of a headache.
Charles, sorry to hear that.
It's nothing to worry about. I can ensure the carriage is sent round later for you, Martha. Is that all right?
Yes, that shall be fine. And then we'll also we'll make sure the carriage assists Mr. Porter and Lady Irene.
Yes. But yeah, I must be away. Sorry, Mr. Rutherford, Mr. Legerton. I would normally stay longer, but yeah, awful headache. I'm sorry.
It's quite understood.
Seems I'm not so cut out for all this seance business, really.
It's quite fine, old chap. I will take care of our friends here this evening until they are ready to go, and wish you a pleasant evening.
Yes,
Are you sure there's nothing? I'm sure Obadiah might be able to mix something up to help with your headache.
Definitely, I have a number of powders that would help greatly. Some very efficacious new decoctions of cocaine that is known to deal with almost any headache. No, it has been late, and yes, I've been awake very early this morning, going over papers. I will away.
I will escort him out and make my apologies to everyone else. I'm sorry again. Most of the servants have the evening off. I was expecting it to be a longer evening and that we would want privacy. So, again, if you need anything, I'm open to help. But please make yourself at home as well. And I apologize for the indignity of you having to care for yourselves. But please, you are my guests, and my home is yours.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you always. Your accommodations are quite lovely, even in spite of the lack of servants.
So, as Mr. Albenathi and Madame LaCroix depart, it's left with the four of you and Obadiah. And as the door closes behind them, Obadiah turns to Lady Irene. So, I hear you're somewhat of a medium yourself.
Indeed, I am.
What did you make of our the Madame?
She was very intense. And I'm surprised by the spirits that she was able to call forth. That incident was kept very private. So I'm quite surprised.
You believe it was a true summoning then?
Either she's very, very clever and has friends in interesting places, or it was true.
And
Mr. Porter, would you like another drink?
Yes, I think that would do nicely.
I'll get him another cup of port.
And not to invade your conversation, but I thought that some of what she said was quite interesting, if a bit vague. However, what intrigues me most is I do wonder how she managed the cold wind. Yes, the knocking I understand, and anyone can read about my wife in the papers. Although I am not amused when one would pull the heartstrings for a simple game. But yes, the wind. I wonder how it was managed. Some sort of funnel, or...
are you still in the dining room at this point, or have you retired to the I forget my correct Victorian room designations. Do you retire to the drawing room, I believe? Or is that... let's say the drawing room. I don't think there's any etiquette, please, in the comments.
I do believe I would have enjoyed to have a brief look around the dining room, just to see if I could make any sight of
Oh yeah, make me a spot hidden.
Is there any possibility I could help him, since I am in the same profession as Madame LaCroix?
Oh yeah, you can. As well, if you wish. I said at any point if you want to interrupt me to make, like, get reads on things or poke stuff, just go for
it. I do believe I'd also like to spend some luck to succeed here.
Are you sure?
Points.
That's quite a lot. Okay. So, well, if you're sure about that, because your spot is, there's no sort of technical device or anything elaborate. But you do both notice that behind the curtain, the window has been opened. And the cold, as you draw near, you can feel a cold night breeze from outside.
And you see, I knew there was some method by which this was accomplished.
Yeah.
I was hoping it was something more clever.
Mr. Porter, please. I will admit I had the window opened earlier just to air out the house a little bit, but surely you felt the cold centralized and not just, it wasn't the entire room that was chilled.
Well, yes, of course, but when these settings come about, and with the added help of a little bit of port, I see no reason why the mind would conjure up this sort of thing. Not to mention the setting itself is enough to run a chill down some folks' spines, no doubt.
Well,
and of course, I
can see why you're the skeptic.
Well, yes, I assume that you had no part to play in it, but that in the time she had to... No, of course not. She had plenty of time to prepare whatever tricks of the trade, we'll say, she needed to apply here.
So, Lady Irene, do you agree that this was all hoax?
To be honest, Sir Randolph, it's fairly accurate. Like I said, she is a very clever woman, or she was touching the great beyond. I've seen both happen. But
well, I believe you are known to have some of these abilities of yourself.
Mm-hmm. It is true.
Well, maybe we should have hired you for the evening.
Oh, it can be hard to do, and what I believe you experienced is what we call the chill, in essence. It's a feeling that comes up from your spine when you are kind of betwixt the veil. It can be a confirmation, it could be a declination. It's vague. That's the main problem with the art of mediums and seances, is it's all vague and there are nuances.
You see there, Mr. Porter, nuances.
Oh yes, I'm sure it's quite a nuanced art. Much like any huckster has to apply. But tell me, Lady Irene, since this medium claims that this place is overwhelming spirit, do you not feel it yourself? Can you perhaps gain some contact? I'm sure we have time this evening, and I don't mean to press you if not.
And she kind of walks around the room before she puts her hands on the table. Sir Legerton, can I see your hands? Would you mind?
Of course. Oh, of course. He warms them up a little bit.
And
Mr. Porter, while you have a complaint about the window, would you mind closing it? Maybe we can get it a bit warmer.
Oh yes, no trouble at all.
And she's going to hesitate for a second before grabbing his hands. And she takes a deep breath, and she is going to try and do what she does. I see I have a lovely new stat on my sheet for this. I love this.
Yes.
I'm so happy.
That is a success. So you feel this connection, as with you have tried to sort of see into Maddie's mind and break the mental block. It's less a calling of the spirits and more of a sort of sense of what was before, and a sense of like anything that's like really strong and significant that's occurred recently, or like traumatic moments.
Mm-hmm. I am trying to focus on something that he hasn't talked about.
Okay.
Specifically.
What would come to mind? What would there be? I think. Really should always be ready for surprise mediums.
Surprise mediums, that's what I do. I also do birthday parties.
I think but okay, you get. It's only brief snatches, really. It's heat, overwhelming sort of heat, and this buzzing, like of flies, and just oppressive humidity, and like your skin's slick with sweat, and the world's like out of focus around you. And sorry, they try and trip me up by throwing things in chat. I gotta keep a straight face, and it's so hard at times. And just more than anything, just fear, like seeing your death coming towards you. And then with a snatch, it's gone.
Hot. Humid. Buzzing. Fear. Was there something scary that happened?
Buzzing, as like an insect.
Flies.
Incredible. Incredible. I was on a trip to Brazil and I took ill with a somewhat mild case of malaria, but it was enough to place my life in danger a bit until one of the native practitioners was able to assist.
You were truthfully scared that would be your end.
Well, I wouldn't say I was, full of fear, but of course there is the concern of one being ill and unable to care for oneself.
It's quite incredible, I must say. This is not a setup, Randolph. You didn't tell her that beforehand, right?
Of course not.
We've only met
we've
maybe
mentioned
once.
Egypt and travel, but I mean, who would have thought I'd have gone to Brazil?
No, I mean, why would you?
Yes.
Well, that I must say, I am considerably impressed. And I've seen some things. In fact, it does remind me of what I had to show you, because, you see, not all of us quite have the talents of the incredible Lady Irene here. But nothing to mean that we can't. Now, bear with me a moment. Like, I know I've perhaps come to your door with some strange things in the past, like them. But this is something truly incredible. And he reaches into the pocket and pulls out a small metal box. It's only
You've been
about
holding out on
this
us,
big,
Obadiah.
like a little snuff box, really. Made of brass with a coiled snake on the top of it. This is a little concoction I picked up from a friend who'd been travelling out in the Far East. I believe Canton or some place. I don't actually recall the specifics there. But he brought me back various powders and concoctions. I've been working my way through them, but there's a particular flower and some other things that gave the most incredible experiences, and I distilled it and perfected it and purified it, and this is something else, but something that can only be experienced by trying it. It's totally safe. I am, a chemist. I know what I'm doing, and I'm skilled in I know my medicine as well. You don't need to worry on that front. But
what is it supposed to do?
You wouldn't believe me if I were to just say it. It sends one's mind back.
Back where?
In time.
How far back?
As far as one can reach, depending on how much. A small amount may send one's mind back a few hours or a few days, but a little more and your mind is back to before your birth. You can see the truth of history in ages past. I have seen the Rome. I have seen beyond that to mankind's early days and past and before that to unknown worlds of creatures of unimaginable strangeness compared to our own minds. What we believe the world to be is just so limited. The fact that being so dissimilar to ourselves in ages past once walked this earth, and I've seen them. But forgive me, it sounds like the ramblings of a madman when I say it. But it is truth. I swear it.
Then, perhaps with your thorough experimentation, you may have discovered the proper amount to send one back, oh, say, 2 years. It should be a simple task to accomplish, given the great distances you have journeyed.
Yes. Yes, although I must inform you, it is only one's mind that is sent back. You are a witness only to what occurs.
Yes, and
The past
events
is
historical.
inalterable.
I apologize.
Just so one understands, I have attempted many times to express, to change and to alter the past. But alas, I am merely witness through the eyes of another. Here, hang on, let me, should get it right. May I borrow a spoon, Randolph?
Is this to be eaten or drank or?
It is, snuff.
I will hand him a spoon. I'm very disappointed that you held back on this, Obadiah. I mean, we've been talking about this and my experiences earlier today, and not once did you mention such thing.
I was kind of saving it as a surprise, and I was going to tell you, but after what Lady Irene has shown, this is deserves sharing with more people. Like here, Mr. Porter, if you would.
I do believe I will give it a try in the interest of preserving those who may not be willing.
I will take out a small notebook and pencil that I keep on me and begin to take notes.
Lady Irene's going to lean over and whisper to Maddie, it's like, maybe we can see what happened between your uncle and the Belfonts this way, if it works.
It's quite possible. But there might be other things as well that we could see.
Exactly.
And I'm not sure, but maybe with your abilities, you might be able to actually alter something.
Oh my. I have no
Mr.
idea.
Mr. Legerton, do see that if your work should become published, that you make note of my name.
Oh, of course, Mr. Porter. Maxwell, is that correct?
Yes, that's right.
Yes, of course.
And if it is of interest to you, the moment that I am seeking to find is the day that I return to find my wife and daughter gone.
Oh, very Oh, sorry. Yes.
Perhaps
Yes.
this way I might find something that I overlooked in my haste and my grief.
Okay.
Very, very well.
So, Rutherford passes the tiny amount of snuff across to Porter. And I'm going to ask for I think, a luck roll here. And this is going to determine accuracy. Oh, wow. I
I
guess.
don't know how it happens every time.
So, you feel this sort of rushing sensation as your mind is drawn backwards through time. For a day 2 years ago, when you arrived back home to your house for a day of work. The house was silent, and you find yourself here as a passenger to the Maxwell Porter of 2 years ago. You see through his eyes and you hear through his ears, but you have no control over his movements as he takes those fateful steps up to the house. And, well, what does he do?
I would, of course, open the door and... Hello? Eliza? Are you home? Maddie, dear? Madeline, come out. Daddy's home. Hello?
House is silent, only a faint drip of water.
Is there a leak? Hello? As I
No
proceed
answer
through the
comes.
house.
And as you proceed, you find them. In the sitting room. A vase of flowers has fallen over on the table, and the water from it is dripping off onto the floor. It can't have been knocked over long at all.
Oh, Eliza? Madeline? Madeline? I would proceed over and try to pick up my daughter and to look at her. Come on, dear. Wake up.
Her skin's still warm, but she's not moving.
Come on, dear. Wake up. Wake up. I would try to recall any bits of first aid that I have picked up in my time and apply it here. I would check her breathing. My glasses, yes, of course. Right underneath her little nose.
No breath. And as the Maxwell of 2 years ago feels his world of falling apart around him, do you, as the passenger seeing through his eyes, do in this moment?
I find myself somewhat overwhelmed. I do my best to maintain myself and steal glances through the corners of my vision. Is there any small detail I've missed? Anything out of place that I didn't notice in my haste?
I'm going to ask here for both a sanity and a spot hidden.
Forgive me, where is sanity again?
The
Seem to have lost
top
mine.
half of the sheet underneath your
Yes, I found it now, thank you. It seems to be found and yet lost also.
yes. So as things sort of, if not perhaps fully, that you find your mind almost being taken far too back, like into that moment. Like you forget that this is the past for a moment and feel like lost in the moment. But you do still see what you didn't notice before when this happened. You see that the back door was standing ever so slightly ajar.
I knew someone must have been there. Who? What? They left anything else behind? Any trace?
And trying to think. And you catch the slightest glimpse of, out of the very corner of your eye, a figure disappearing through the back gate of the garden. Just the very briefest glimpse of a hurried figure in a dress and a flash of pale blonde hair. And then, as you find your mind being drawn back into the present, I need you to roll me 1d8, please. And I'm going to ask for a second sanity roll. That's loss of 4 points of sanity there, and a second sanity roll for other reasons, which is a hard success. So for the rest of you...
Unfortunately, I did roll that before the subtraction, so should I go again?
That is still a success.
But
So you... For the rest of you, this is only sort of the briefest of moments as Maxwell takes a step and you watch like the tears sort of pooling in his eyes, and as he's... Maxwell, you're brought suddenly and abruptly back into the drawing room at Legaton's house.
Keeper,
Yes.
how long was he out or away?
Only for about as long as the scene took for him. So not very long, just as long as it would take him to sort of walk up the steps into the house.
Did he say anything out loud, or was all this in his mind?
That was all in his mind.
Thank you.
I will fetch a napkin off of one of the tables in the room and bring it to him, as well as the port that I had poured for him. Mr. Porter, here.
just the napkin, dear. I forgive me. It was far more than I expected. Far too real. I could feel the last of her warmth. Her hair was so fine, and yet it felt like you might expect from a doll, unfilled with the life that it once held. Please, you do not let me disturb your evening. I think I should like to have a bit of a rest, Mr. Legerton. Is there just all right if I take a seat?
I have a small couch in my offices. Please come this way. Lady Irene, if you would, there may be a blanket in the hall closet. If you could, there's some more.
Mr. Legerton, for the sake of your writing, most certainly did seem as though I was there that day. I'm certain of it. As a matter of fact, I saw that fiend. I knew that I had overlooked it. How could I have missed them running through my own back garden? If I hadn't tarried, perhaps I could have. I don't know what I would have done. But forgive me, it's all become a bit too much for me.
I'm going to make an effort to write down everything he has said exactly as he said it as we're going along. Yes, of course, Mr. Porter. Please, come, lie down. Is there anything else you would like to say?
If one intends to engage in this sort of activity, one must steel themselves utterly, the very core of themselves. Do not know what manner of thing you set to play with, what manner of thing you invite into your heart. I do not know. Forgive me, I should say no more.
I'm sure you'll feel better after some rest, friend.
Perhaps.
Hey.
Lady Irene has followed along, and once Maxwell gets situated, she gives him the blanket.
Yes. And as Maxwell retires for a rest, I think this might be a good point to go to break. And we'll be back in approximately 10 minutes time. I hope to see you there. And
Here we go.
we are back. So, before the break, our investigators had attended a seance at the house of Mr. Randolph Legaton and met Mr. Legaton and his friend, a chemist named Obadiah Rutherton, and had learnt of Rutherton's strange drug, which sends the user's mind back into time. And Maxwell had used the drug to send his mind back to the death of his wife and daughter. And where we left off, Maxwell had retired to get some rest, leaving Irene, Maddie, Randolph, and Rutherton in the drawing room. If I am correct, please correct me if that's the wrong room or the wrong people.
No, that sounds correct to me.
And Rutherton sort of has his head in a notebook and he's frantically scribbling away, like tongue between his teeth as he makes a note of what just happened.
Lady Irene, might I have a word with you for a moment?
Of course, dear.
I'm going to pull her to the side a little bit out of earshot. I was thinking, perhaps I could sample this, and while I am in whatever time period and it ends up being, you have a hold of my hand and possibly see what I'm seeing?
If you'd like me to try, I can.
It might be something. Is there anything that we might want to learn?
I'm personally curious about our meeting with Leticia coming up. I was trying to think of a way to look back and see what actually happened between her father and your uncle. Possibly.
That might be something. Do we know about how long ago it was?
Well, we know Leticia was 5 when the last time
And-
John saw her.
Hmm. Mr. Rutherton?
Yes. Yes.
Were you able to see through your experimentation if it would take you only through your experiences or through experiences others have had?
I saw through my eyes, I saw through my grandfather's eyes, and others who I presume may have been ancestors of mine, though it was so far back, I don't really know. One has a lot of ancestors the further one back one goes.
Mm-hmm. Lady Irene, about how long ago would you say it was? 20, 30 years?
Just about, I believe.
Would it be possible for that? We don't know the exact time period.
Well, as I said, it's not an exact science. One does not always see exactly what one wishes to see if one. But if I do not know how old. And I know this is a question one should not normally ask a young lady, but I assume you are not 30.
No, not yet.
So that far back, you would likely see through the eyes of your mother or your father, or wherever they might have been.
Well, we shall try it. There's somebody that I would like to know information about, but we'll see if it'll work. however much you think I should take.
He's your granduncle, isn't he?
My great uncle, yes.
Yes. Yeah. So not this generation. We need to go further back. Keeper, out of interest, how old is Leticia?
It was hard to be entirely certain. She looked,
She looked to be about 40, I believe.
yes.
Or 50.
I'm just double checking my notes because getting people's ages to add up is. She looked to be in her 40s, probably. Yeah.
So maybe you need to go further back, like closer to 35, 40. Maybe.
All right. Are you sure that this needs to be taken?
Oh, no, I just like taking stuff. I think you can eat it, it's fine.
Oh, well, then that I would prefer. All right. We're looking at between 35 and 40 years, maybe?
Right, yes. Okay, this should do it. And, give me a look roll, Maddie. Let's see how lucky.
Luck.
Yeah.
All right. The green one or the purple?
The green one will do.
All right.
Okay, so powder. It's bitter on your tongue, with perhaps a slight undertone of burnt sort of toffee. It seems oddly familiar from somewhere. And as you feel your mind being ripped back in time, you get snatches of your life over the past months. You see flashes of your childhood, of your parents' childhoods, and a snatch of an orchard and the sound of and you're running after a boy who's perhaps a couple of years older than you, and calling for John, wait up, John, where are you going? As you see your brother disappearing through the trees. And then your mind is dragged back further. You see styles of clothing that are less familiar to you, as ships sailing out to war down from the harbour. You see London looks different from the London you know, much smaller. You see buildings that weren't there. You see a flash of fire licking up around the place. The sound streets that are crowded and narrow, with narrow wooden houses. A looming mask peering down at you. And further back, you see a tree and a spring of a river, and your hands sort of moving the earth aside as you dig down to bury something beneath this tree, down at the source of the river. And then you see something else out of the very corner of your eye. You see where this tree grows up. There's the edge of a building where two walls meet, And there's something, a strange pooling of movement in the corner of the two walls. The dimensions seem to warp and stretch a little. And you swear for a moment that something with eyes was peering back at you. Not at the ancestor of yours who you're currently inhabiting, but at you. It sees you.
I am going to try to move towards it.
The body you're in, the mind you're in, is intent on its task as they smooth the earth over. They look. They turn and you step towards this thing. And you see it now as where these two walls meet. This thing seems to be emerging out, smoke pouring out through the corner of this angle. And the head of this creature forms, and it's no creature that you have ever seen before, no being that should exist. It looks, everything about it is wrong. The angles, the corners of it, it's not right, and it twists the space and the shape around it. And I need a sanity roll from you, Maddie, please.
That's a hard success.
That is a success. And on that success, you lose a single point of sanity. And as this thing stares back, it's at that point you feel your mind being pulled back towards the present.
I try to get a wherewithal of where that tree is.
Okay.
I'm
going to say, I don't think we have a good role for tree recognition.
No, not tree recognition,
yeah, like the
but
place,
like
the
the
landscape,
walls,
yeah.
and the building.
Yeah,
Probably
no,
archaeology.
Yeah, I'll say archaeology, history, any of those sorts of skills would be acceptable, or a straight intelligence if you wish. The building itself looks to be some kind of...
We'll go with history, and I got an extreme success.
You know exactly that spot, the corner of the walls. You've possibly been there on a trip since you arrived into England. You definitely have perhaps seen it mentioned in a book and it's a place in Gloucestershire called Thames Head, which is a series of springs that are deemed by many to be the source of the River Thames.
Okay.
And as your mind is pulled back towards the present day, I do need another sanity roll, separate reasons.
That one is a fail.
And I need you to roll me a d8 for this one, please.
That's a 4.
And deduct from yourself 4 points of sanity. As you feel again like the time compressed, all this time running through your mind. The snatches, the lives of your ancestors layering up over each other. Hundreds of years of time compressed into that brief moment until you are back in the drawing room once more.
Lady Irene was holding Maddie's hand through all this. Do you want me to roll now to see if...
Oh, yes, sorry, I forgot to ask that. Please, if you are attempting to, give me a mediumship roll. I'm not sure if you want to succeed.
Oh!
Oof.
That, for the attention of those who can't see the rolls, was a fumble. So you saw everything Maddie just saw. But most importantly, you saw the creature. And you saw it take note of you. And you saw as you started getting pulled back through the snatches of history back towards the present. You saw it again and again. In the corners of the buildings of the London streets. In every place where the walls meet. In the edges of the room. There it was, the smoke pooling out as this thing is following you.
But it's terrifying. It's
I need a sanity roll for the sight of this.
Yeah.
I don't really have a great artistic impression of it, but I will show you the best that I could find. And on a success, that will be the loss of 2 points of sanity from Lady Irene. And that brings you both back into the drawing room.
I need some water. Oh, my
I'll
head
go over
hurts.
some.
what was that thing? Oh my god!
What thing? Can you describe it?
Everything about it was wrong.
Mm.
There was smoke.
And eyes.
And eyes.
I think, Lady Irene, I will need to make a field trip in the next few days.
Yeah. I will accompany you.
Perhaps something stronger. Did you, some port or sherry or a whiskey maybe, young lady?
Yes, whichever is strongest.
Whiskey for me, please.
There you go. Sometimes it can leave one a little shaken, seeing all of that.
Yes.
Did you ever see the thing, Rotherson? The thing we're describing?
The thing? I don't recall. No.
Have you a bit of paper and a pencil? Maybe I can attempt to draw it.
I'll hand her my notebook and pencil.
And I will attempt to draw it from what I saw, including the corner of the building that I saw it in.
The corn, you draw it to the best of your ability, although your drawing of it, you find as you're trying to commit it to the page, it's hard enough committing something that's in 3 dimensions to a 2-dimensional space. This was something that was existing in more than 3 dimensions.
Mm-hmm.
And trying to express it on paper cannot capture like the true wrongness of this thing.
All right, but I will do my best and I will show it to them. I saw this. I'm going to stand up and peruse the bookshelves and see if I can find anything at all whatsoever on occult creatures.
Okay, so first of all, Legaton, this is your library. What kind of books would you keep there? Would there be at least...
On the shelf, clearly visible would be medical and legal things, but if I see her looking, I'll immediately direct her over to the private bookshelf, where there are things of a more occult and esoteric nature.
Okay, and I will continue looking.
Okay, so she browses the books. What are the rest of you doing? And where is Maxwell at this moment? Just because it might become relevant.
I would still be in the study, I believe, or private office. I apologize.
Yeah.
And resting to the best of my ability. Trying to put out those memories.
Okay.
Irene is standing and kind of pacing. She's wiping her hands back and forth together. Very anxiously. And she is also probably down that whiskey that was handed to her. Not very
Okay.
ladylike, but...
I mean, maybe give me a library use check to see how going perusing the shelves. If Legaton helps you, you can have a bonus die, because he does know where his stuff is, but it's up to him whether he wants to help her or not.
Absolutely would.
Okay. So in which case, that would be the purple one.
Thank you.
Character sheet.
Oh, well, that is a success across the board.
Okay, so... Thinking, what is the closest you'd find to any reference of this sort of thing is possibly a book of what appears to be sort of records of another gentleman, not Rutherton, another respectable gentleman's experiments with mind-opening substances. Perhaps someone Legaton met on his travels, or an old friend who has made note of a creature that was stalking his dreams. A being he describes as a hound. His description of it goes, it's the description itself is not very detailed, but it just mentions that all the evil in the universe was concentrated in their lean, hungry bodies. Or had they bodies? I saw them only for a moment. I cannot be certain.
This seems
And a rough sketch of something that it could be the thing you saw.
This is possibly it.
And the diary, the record, ends 2 days afterwards, with a small postscript that the author was found dead in his rooms.
Mr. Rutherton?
Yes, yes, you look
Have
quite
you
pale, are you alright?
Have you seen anything when you have done your experimentation?
I've seen I've seen all manner of things. Things that you honestly wouldn't believe. People
I mean-
aren't people. Beings, strange, conical beings in vast cities, and nations that fell into the sea. All manner of unbelievable things, and some things I don't want to remember, if I'm being totally honest. Things that just seemed somewhat wrong.
Mr. Legerton, are you going to be attempting to
well,
sample this?
I'm more of an observer, historically.
You heard what he said about his trip to America? The man does not partake. He just observes.
No, from what I understand, some of those things, they don't often allow outsiders to partake. But I'm from New York, so I'm not around many. I could be wrong. Be careful. And I'm going to sit down and sip more of whatever beverage was handed to me.
Lady Irene is kind of pacing back and forth at the mention of Rutherson's conversations of previous things that they've seen. There is a bit of a look, and there's some hand wringing. And she walks over and she sits next to him, and shakily she holds her hands out to him, rather nervously. Can I see your hands?
Oh, you want to do your thing? Yeah. Yes.
And there's this look that she looks over at Maddie. There's kind of this, I don't know what's going to happen kind of look.
Maddie will nod and kind of shrug.
And yeah, I'm going to attempt to do my thing, as he put it.
Okay, give me a leadership roll.
I am going to let me see, do I have enough luck to tap this?
That would be 24 points of luck, which is quite a lot. Or you can push the roll, which would mean on a fail, the chance for something to go very wrong. Rather than just not work.
I'm going to push.
Alright, give me another mediumship roll then, please. Okay.
That was an extreme success.
Yes. Give me a moment just to think. So you're trying to see what he saw, correct?
Yes.
Back.
He was talking all those things, and
in the ages past, as Obadiah had let his mind drift back far, far in time to completely unknown ages, to a time when the earth looked nothing like the earth as you know it, to see things that are very definitely not human. Things, as he put them, these strange, conical beings in the cities they built. This vast city of huge stones, and being built up and things falling down once more, and the great and terrible gods which were once worshipped by alien races long since lost to history and even to mythology. And you see, though, out of the corner of your eye, the hound. And you see, when it spots Brotherton, and as he lets his mind drift back and forth in time, you watch as it's getting closer and closer towards him. As it follows him back through time, you catch the briefest snatch of where it crossed paths with you, or at least with Maddie, there at Thames Head, as the mind which Maddie saw through was also the mind that Obadiah saw through. As a network of ancestors brings two people over hundreds of years back to a single person. That, like Maddie, Obadiah was in that moment, as something was buried underneath that tree. And it was not you or Maddie that the creature was following, but Obadiah. But as you visited that moment, it has increased its pace. And now as you blink back from Obadiah's memories, you feel this lingering dread. His dread, maybe, or yours. And I will need a little sanity roll for all this, please.
I know it.
And that would be 1d8, please. As you see this, everything from the great races.
It's a 1.
It's a 1. It's a 1. Lady Irene, she saw unbelievable creations that existed before the dawn of mankind, and she's mostly okay with it. She has realized the tininess of humans in the grand scale of the history of Earth. Or in other words, it's a Tuesday. But as she blinks out of seeing what Rutherton saw, Maxwell, over in the study, as you attempt and fail to get any proper rest, you see something out of the corner of your eye in the corner of the study. This strange coiling, pooling of this strange black smoke. There's no sign of a fire, and in fact it seems to be coiling out from the corners of the room itself, from the edge where one panelled wall meets another.
Surely it must be some trick of the light. Is there a candle or a lamp nearby?
Yes, there's candles on the desk. There's a gas lamp you could turn up if you wish.
Yes, I'd turn up the lamp, and I'd even go so far as to hold the lamp towards the shadow. Surely it'll dissipate.
As you hold the light, you notice the walls, they seem to be... There's a certain twisting movement to the angles of the walls. And this smoke is pouring more thickly now. And then pushing out through the angles of the walls comes a head. This alien terror with like these eyes that burn with a strange intensity, the skin that seems to pulse and warp, and it seems to be pushing itself out through the corners of the room. And I need a sanity roll from you, Maxwell, please.
Mr. Legaton, hello, somebody.
You still do lose 1 point of sanity on a success, as this thing is emerging into the study. So the rest of you hear the shouts coming from the other room.
I will set my notebook down and immediately head that way.
Okay, so it's probably only just the next door, or just a couple of doors away.
Okay.
Yeah, so you hurry into the study, and as you open the door, you see what Maxwell sees. You see this thing that should not be. This thing of strange angles, and I need a sanity roll, please, from you, Tam. Oh.
Are you sure you didn't partake?
You only lose 2 points of sanity on your success.
You sure?
But, it's
Is
still...
it, like, distant across the room from us?
I mean, it's the far corner of the study from the door, so it's not a long way away, no. Like...
I'd like to grab Maxwell by the arm and try to pull him back from the room. Maxwell, come.
But we must observe it. This is something entirely different. I've never in my life.
Back in the other room, Maddie and Lady Irene, what are you doing in this moment?
I first look at Lady Irene, and then I look at Obadiah, and then I look at the door.
Lady Irene still has a grip of Rotherson's hands, and she looks very, very directly at him.
What is it?
You're going to die.
What?
You led this thing. It's following you. That's where she lets go of his hands and turns to Maddie. It's let it back. Here. He has. It's been following him. It wasn't following you. It wasn't following me.
Keeper, where's the box of snuff?
On the table.
I am going to take it, and I'm going to pour some of the whiskey into it, shake it up, and then dump it out the window. I'm gonna keep the box.
Okay, so
plants.
Pork plants. I wasn't going to throw it into the fire because of that burnt toffee taste.
So as you hurry to the window, which was open. No, actually, no, I believe it was reclosed at some point. Yeah. So as you hurry to pour this out the window, it's probably at this point that Maxwell and Randolph comes like staggering backwards into the room away from this thing that is pursuing them.
Are you both all right? I heard you scream.
There's something in the room.
Yes, something quite impossible. Mr. Leggett, have you? Huh?
Was it the dog?
I've never seen a dog quite like that. Are we far enough back from the door that I could kick it closed?
Yes, you are.
All right, I'm gonna kick the door closed.
We can't. We can't leave it in there and not. Surely, for your book.
Are you?
No.
Are you? You want to go back in the room with that thing?
It's following you, isn't it? It's following him, and I'm going to point at Obadiah Lefferson.
No, I mean, it was back there. It can't be here. Like, things can't just. No. This is maybe a little too much whiskey. I mean, Mr. Porter's had an awful shock. This thing, it can't be here.
I saw it through your eyes, Obadiah. It saw you. It watched you. And then when Maddie, by the way, you two are related somehow. I don't know exactly how, but it saw you, saw Maddie, and then it decided to pick up the pace. The more you use this, the more opportunities you gave whatever it is to follow back.
And as Irene is talking to Obadiah, I'm going to offer the rest of you a spot hidden, please. You don't have to take it. It's up to you if your characters are paying attention or not.
None of us at all.
No,
I fumble.
indeed. So, as Obadiah is sort of staring in horror at Lady Irene, Randolph, you feel the movement of something behind you in the corner of the room by the door.
I will, kind of horror movie slow, turn to look over my shoulder.
And there, emerging from the corner of the room, is the creature.
I scream like a 12-year-old girl in front of a snake.
And Obadiah sort of whips round, stare at this thing. Like, his eyes wide with panic. He shrieks loudly, backs away, stumbling, trembling, just like completely lost of all sense of this thing as he backs up to the far side of the room from this creature as it emerges further into the room.
Keeper.
Backing the other way that Obadiah is. So if he's backing that way, I'm going to the other corner of the room. I want to be as far away from Obadiah and the creature as possible.
Okay.
My pistol.
Keeper.
My pistol. Sorry.
Does any of this give any indication of what I've read in my book?
Give me a Cthulhu Mythos roll, please.
Fumble. No. All right.
This is perhaps some sort of servitor, something sent by one of the cults. One of the gods could maybe have summoned it, but you cannot remember
After dumping the powder mixed with
any
whiskey
knowledge of
out
how
the
to
window,
deal with it.
I am going to hide underneath the curtain.
Okay, make me a stealth roll, please.
Fail.
Okay, you attempt to hide behind the curtain. Randolph, I believe you said something about a pistol.
Yeah. Just keep saying it over. My pistol. We need my pistol.
Yes. Just like on safari, right? Where's the gun?
In my office, in the desk drawer.
Cannot leave the ladies alone. Keeper, is there by chance a fireplace with a metal poker nearby?
Yes, there is.
I would like to acquire this and hand it to Mr. Legaton and say, I will stay with them and defend them from this thing. Take this and go and fetch the pistol, please, quickly.
The thing stalks steadily towards Rutherton, who's sort of frozen in place, seemingly unable to move out of absolute fear as this thing moves. It's sort of in uncanny jolts almost, like it doesn't seem to be moving, and then it's a few steps forwards. It almost seems to flicker and warp the world around it as it advances on him.
I'm just an observer, Mr. Porter. Just an observer.
Very well then, very well then. You must not let them come to harm when I go.
And at this point, as you're having this debate over who's leaving the room and who's staying, so Irene's backed into a corner, Maddie's behind the curtain. As this thing lashes out at Rutherton, its tongue just tearing a strip from his flesh, just lashing out towards him, cutting through skin and into bone. And I need sanity rolls from all of you, please, as you're just witnesses. You're just observers.
But I'm hiding behind the curtain with my eyes closed, my hands over my
In which
ears.
case, you can have a bonus die because you can only hear this happening.
I failed. Oh, yeah.
No, you succeeded.
Oh,
+1.
yay.
Like eyes closed, hands over your ears. Like this is you're able to hold it together, as is Irene the Indomitable. But I need a D6 from each of you. You've seen this creature before, but this is more for the violent death aspect of this. Not from you, Lady Irene. You're good.
Sorry. Never mind.
It's from. So as Irene back in the corner, you're keeping it together. The other two gentlemen are not quite so collected as they pause in their debate over pokers and guns. And I'm going to ask for an intelligence check from both of you, whether you fully comprehend what you have just witnessed here. How cognizant are you of this?
How come I want to fail this roll and didn't?
Oh, no,
69!
no.
Sorry.
This
Nice.
is one of the few times in the game that you really wish you had failed this roll. Because you are not able to rationalize this away. You are fully aware of everything that is going on in this situation. That a creature from another period of time is in the midst of violently murdering, in your case, like a man you would consider a good friend, being killed before your eyes by a creature that should not be here. And I'm afraid to say that both of you are now currently undergoing a bout of madness. And I'm going to ask each of you to please roll me a d10. As see how this particular horror affects you. Would you do me the favour of rolling again? Because I don't like that one. That one's alright. Some of them are better than others, depending on the character. Legaton. Everything goes completely dark and silent around you. As you find your mind sort of shutting off and backing away from this reality of this situation, as you freeze in place and sort of find that your conscience sort of narrows down to the smallest bit at the back of your mind as you shut off the sounds and sights of the world before you. As you are currently insensible to everything that is going on around you. Which, if I'm being entirely honest, is usually a very safe situation compared to most other results. Maxwell, meanwhile, you are racked by an intense fear, a fear that will linger with you beyond this moment, leaving you with long-lasting phobia. Or let me think, what have we got going on in this situation? We've got a drawing room, we've got sound like creature, the smell of like the whiskey in the air, and I think you're going to be left with a deep feeling and lasting fear of anything related to witchcraft or seances, because this is what seances do. This is why seances are bad. And I will find the correct phobia name. I know it is one, because I used it in the past. But a phobia of witches. They are out there. They are terrible, and they do seances and things that should not happen. But as the two of you are incapacitated for the time being by fear and horror as you back away, Obadiah slumps down to the ground with a thud, and the creature turns towards Irene. Slow, menacing prowl towards her.
Gonna try and run, try and figure out a way.
Yeah, go for it. What's your moose? Right.
Ooh.
Yes, I think I saw a question from Maxwell.
The lamp from the desk is made of what?
Desk lamp? Probably like a solid base with like a gas lantern.
Fantastic. I am terrified, and this is getting thrown at that beast. As I try my best to run for the front door.
Give me a throw, please.
My move rate's 8.
Okay, you're quite nippy then. That's whether you're quite fast enough. You seem to be moving fast as you flee towards the door. Maddie's still behind the curtain. Are you staying there, Maddie?
I don't see it, do I?
No,
I
you
still
don't
have
see
my
it.
eyes closed.
You've still got
I'm
your
not
eye-
doing anything.
Okay. Maxwell, what did you get on your throw? Oh, fail. The gas lamp shatters on the ground with a crash of glass. And your move rate is, let's see, a little slower. Maxwell, as you run after sort of Lady Irene, as you flee, this creature moves past you towards Irene, seemingly warping into the wall and out of the wall, its movement strange and flickering as it passes you, heading for Irene.
Oh gosh. I didn't mean to.
Irene, you sort of out the front door and the steps into the crisp, cold night air of this London street.
I do turn to look back.
As you turn, you see the creature slows. See, as it stops at the top of the steps of the stairs, looks at you. Its eyes fixed upon you. And it opens its jaw. You see these too many teeth, too much sharp knife-like angles, and then it bleeds away into smoke.
Irene is literally going to slump onto the street.
And Maxwell, as you sort of catch up with her, your fear and panic, you can see Irene and no sign of the hound.
This is scarcely better. This woman, if you and her had not delved further, none of this, and now a man is dead.
He brought that on himself.
Yes, with his strange powders, I know, but we all made terrible choices, delving further into things that should not have been delved into. That woman at the bookshop was right. We're fools.
You mean the murderer? The one that keeps killing people?
Yes, a murderer, unhinged, but sound in some ways. She at least knew that these types of things were meant to be left alone. All a good bit of fun, I thought. Silly, ridiculous, but no, look at this.
For the most part, I would agree with you, Maxwell. It is all a bit of fun. But this is far, far beyond what normally happens at a seance. And she gets up and she's trying to walk towards him.
No. Keep your distance. I don't want to have to use this. So I brandish the poker from the fire.
Maxwell.
Miss Von Watts.
What has come over you?
Sensibility. There was a time where the people like this who sought these things were burnt at the stake. And perhaps they were more prevailing minds at that time. How often we deride the ancients for being fools, and yet still look at their wonders, and look at their works, and look, they knew, they had the sensibility to drive these types of things out from their homes, not invite them in for tea and a joke amongst your friends, so that you might call upon things of unnatural origin and unleash them upon this world. Where has that thing gone? Where may it have taken residence now? Who will be its next victim? And all for what? The sake of some silly game.
I don't know where it went, Maxwell.
And it is at this point that back in the study, Legaton, you return to your senses.
I assume all I see is blood
All you
and mess on
see
the
is
floor.
blood and the remains of your friend.
And you hear Maddie behind the curtain say, "No, no, no, I cannot see this. I cannot see this. No, 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 no." And the curtain's shaking a little as she's doing that back and forth. No, no, no.
I'm going to pick up my notebook, take a look at what's written in the drawing in it, and throw it into the fireplace.
And you watch as the flames sort of curl up and the sketch of this creature consumed by fire and gone. Leaving just a dead body to
Miss Carter, Miss Carter, we should get out of here. And he'll work his way over and have a very hard time trying to find his way through the curtain, looking for her arm. Come, we must leave. Come on.
Yes, she will pointedly look down at her feet and only one step ahead of her foot. She doesn't want to see anything.
And as the opposite, I can't take my eyes off of it as I try and guide her. And as soon as we're out, I'll close the door.
You close the door behind you. You're in the hall of your house, and you hear at this point the end of the argument between between Irene and Maxwell going on outside through the open front door.
Mr. Porter, if you would please, the poker.
Yes, I suppose it is yours. There you are. But I warn you, stay away from that one. Who knows what else she'll bring here to us.
She's not the one who did it.
So says you. Did you not see everything? Were you not there? These conjurers bringing who knows what that creature may have been.
She was not the one that summoned. She did not partake.
And next you will tell me that this was merely a figment of my mind, as I so easily tried to pass it off before. But no, I have seen it now. I think we all have.
No,
The
I was not
evidence is
saying.
plain.
No. It wasn't a figment. It followed Rutherson. It followed him. He brought it here. Not
Yes.
Irene.
Yes, and mere coincidence that the evening in which two of these conjurers have arrived, that this man should have his encounter with this thing. Mere chance. I do not believe in things like that. I have always been a man to find the logical solution, and as you can see, why else would now be the time? Why else?
He kept going back, Mr. Porter. He kept
Yes,
using it.
Well, as I recall, it chased you down, did it not? Only to disappear, banished by you, no doubt.
But-
Somewhere else, sent off to some other doing that you have seen fit to rot upon us all.
I will approach Mr. Porter and put my hand on his arm and turn him to look at me. And I will say under my breath, so that Mr. Legerton does not hear, you know very well that there is more than just that out there. And you know very well that she did not conjure it.
I'm not so certain as you. Had she not been present for everything that has gone on?
No,
She
not
not.
always.
Really?
No.
As I recall, you told me she was there on the day that the octopus thing escaped from some flask, which I dismissed as any sane person would. But now I am not so sure. And with the plant, was it not her that found out?
And
How did
was
she
it
find
not-
it?
And was it not the detective that actually saw the plants?
Yes, of course. Why would she herself be tied to everything? This was a clever ruse. Let the detective play the detective and find the final solution, but she surely has played her part in some way. I am certain of it. It is not mere coincidence that she is here this evening, and this occurs. It is not mere
She was
coincidence.
not here. She was not here before, and we still dealt with things. The day that we went to see the bookstore first, when I lost my memory, do you remember?
yes.
She was not there.
Yes, a different conjurer, a stranger one altogether, trying to ply her vile perfumes against us. Another of the witches that so frequently were listed in the books.
Mr. Porter, I think that this evening is over and we must all seek our own homes.
Yes, and I advise you to be very careful of that one. I would escort you home. But this one, absolutely not.
Oh. So, as Maxwell prepares to escort Maddie home, Irene, what are you doing?
Irene is going to turn to Sir Randolph and thank him for his time as much as she can in this process. She is very shaken up, There is definitely this look to Mr. Porter, and she just very much says, "So that's how it's going to be?"
How it's going to be, how it should have been, how blind I was. I lied to myself for so many years, and that is very apparent now. I always thought your ilk to be nothing more than a simple farce. Now I see the cunning in those eyes, those foul works. How could I miss them before?
It's interesting how one evening can turn a skeptic into a raving zealot.
Strange how one can so quickly dismiss the death of a man right in front of her own eyes. I wonder, is the coven which you come from responsible for the taking of my daughter and wife as well?
You know exactly who's responsible for the taking of your wife and daughter. It's the Belfonts.
Yes, the Belfonts. The Belfonts, workers of witchcraft, and no doubt a part of whatever coven has claimed this area of London. I'm sure that all of you answer in some way or another. That is made readily apparent.
I hope at some point, Mr. Porter, you can come to your senses and realize that you're being a horse's ass. And she's going to turn and she's going to escort herself home.
How wonderful
Okay.
she's done us the favor of removing herself.
So, as Lady Irene strides off through the streets, is Maxwell following through with his promise to escort Maddie home?
Before we leave, Maddie does say a few things to Mr. Legerton. Mr. Legerton, I am sorry for how this evening went. If you should need any assistance with anything, please do not hesitate to speak with Sir John Wallace or myself if you do need any assistance with anything.
Yes. I'll try to keep your names out of it. I must go report this to the police. Somehow.
A rabid beast of some sort. Perhaps. The window is open.
I must apologize for my behavior. I was unable to move. I'm just an observer. I'm not.
Be careful that your observations do not lead you down darker paths. It is clear that some things are not meant to be recorded or understood. I wish you safety, and I urge you, stay away from these psychics, these conjurers. They bring only evil with them, as we have seen this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. I have destroyed my notes of this evening. And I think I will travel someplace quiet for a while.
As I said, if you need any assistance.
And he'll realize he's got the poker in his hand still and let it drop to the floor and pat Maddie's hand, and yes, you should go now before, and I will get the police and I'll try to keep your names out of it as well.
Very well. Mr. Porter, we should leave.
Yes, of course. Be safe, Mrs. Egerton. I trust you will know where to find us if needs be.
And so, as Maxwell and Maddie head home and Randolph is left to call in the police and explain how awful it was that a wild animal got in through an open window, and how dreadful it was. The police are admittedly confused, but there is no way that the injuries poor dead chemist sustained could have been from a human being. And there is in fact a little bit of a panic as the newspaper headlines report of a murderous beast, a dread hound, loose in London. People bar their doors at night, shut their windows, and don't let their children walk alone as they fear that the streets of Bloomsbury are haunted by some dreadful, perhaps an escaped animal from the zoo, or a dog gone rabid, something awful on the loose. Perhaps the only investigator who doubts that report is a certain Inspector Howard Barnes, who would note it down in his book of strange and unusual cases and send a little note down to his friend, the Detective Shaw, who's currently down in Portsmouth continuing her own investigations. And it added to the ever-increasing file of things are strange and happening in London. What becomes of Legerton after this, how these events will shape his future, will remain to be seen. And whether Maxwell and Irene will be able to bridge the sudden divide between them, we will have to find out. But one thing is for certain. Somewhere out there, the hound remains. And you are not forgotten.